Hello YouTube, Infinite Magicraid community, Gandalf here. I spent the entire day today in a boardroom doing presentations, and I thought nothing could be more fun than to finish the day by preparing another presentation for everyone here. I know there's been a little bit of rumor or whatever thoughts around, how I don't spend enough time preparing for the content that I make. I trust you, a lot of thought has gone into this one. So I hope you enjoyed the presentation today, and let's get started. So, as you can see, there are 6 key damage types that we have in the game. And these are the 6 key damage types some of the newer content has been revolving around. This content is what is required to do a lot of the breakthrough and get a lot of great goodies throughout the game. So throughout the presentation today, I will cover the 6 key damage type and what are potentially the best heroes you should invest in to make your account the most effective and help with your game progression the most. Starting off with direct damage dealers. We have probably the most versatile pool of heroes when it comes to direct damage dealers, and I had a really hard time picking which heroes will make this list. As you go through the sections, what you will see is usually on the top left side or the left hand side most will be the hero that's most versatile or the strongest in this category. On the right, you will see 2 other heroes that I thought deserves an honorable mention for what they're able to contribute either in PvE or PvP. So we have here Wukong and Lydia first. These 2 not only do a great amount of damage from a supporting perspective, they're strong enablers. Wukong does a lot of great damage mitigation, but also joint attacking and bruising the enemy at his best. And Lydia allows turn reduction as well as attack up. Jingle Bell is the highest damage dealer in this entire category, also enabling freeze in PvP. Beatrix is probably the highest boost to direct and basic damage dealing from her kit. And Nordak has a very good mechanic in terms of shielding and protecting your entire team, while on his basic, every turn, being able to do a huge amount of damage that scales off the total amount of shield on the team. The honorable mention, Jenny is a great boost in PvE, and Atkins will be great in PvP. And Atkins actually do very well in PvE as well, with the ability to reduce the boss's critical damage, reduce their basic damage and skill damage as well. In addition, adding tenacity, consolidation, and shields to your team. So the direct damage category, you have the most versatile round of heroes, and these are probably the top heroes, I would say, of all the ones you'll see today in terms of what you want to prioritize in investing in. Onto the poison class. The poison class historically hasn't really been that strong, but recently with the introduction of Willa, this changed up things quite a bit. You can see that Nita, a popular hero, doesn't even make the list anymore with the introduction of IMR Candle, the second hero on our list here. IMR Candle in the middle top middle here, has really replaced Nita in almost every single way. Bringing the right buff, even silencing the enemy in PvP, damage on death, big AoE damage. IMR Candle does it all. Then we have Magdi, Melot, and Dakota. These 3 heroes have been around for a while now. They play a very strong supporting role in the poison compositions. Magdi brings shield, consolidation as a unique passive, boost poison damage for the entire team, apply deep poison damage too, so the enemy takes extra poison damage. Melot allows anyone who can do poison damage to do a joint attack, and this pursuit scales and synergizes very well with Willa, which is the first hero you see on the list. Often we see with poison teams and other dot damage teams, there's a problem of not being able to do enough damage on your own turn. Dakota takes advantage of that. So by removing all of the poison dots on the enemy, she refreshes them and actually does a huge amount of damage, scaling off all the poison damage you remove from the enemy. So because you're applying so many dots, you can quickly refresh and get another 10 stacks very quickly. The honorable mention are the ones that provide additional assistance in PvP. So Ronai is still relevant in our current meta, being able to boost turn meter to the highest amount in a PvP composition. And of course, Freud bring shield to the table, bring attack up, and bring a protective layer at the beginning of the battle to make you immune to certain control effects. And he has a poison tag as well. His shielding ability allow you to use him uniquely in poison composition where, say, Magdi on his own is not able to provide enough support. Moving on to the burning group, we have a nice fire going on here, and across the top, these are the strongest heroes you can see. The biggest damage dealer is still Little Jack, and Little Jack not only does a lot of damage once he hits exclusive 3, he also boosts mastery of the entire team. From a versatility standpoint, Big Jack next to him, or also known as Pumpkin Singer, or he is able to boost the turn meter, prevent death, speed up, boost damage, and his Echo further boosts attack damage, scaling off his HP. A very strong supporting hero, and you see him in PvP and PvE when it comes to boss killing teams a lot. After Big Jack, we have Chelsea, the hero in the middle there. She's been relatively new to the compositions, and she brings unique burn up, which allows burn damage to increase by another 50%. And also, she has the ability to have a unique dot that allow you to actually sustain a dot damage on the enemy when the enemy takes turns. This is really unique because normally on burn heroes, you leave one layer of burn dot, and the second time you apply it, creates a detonation effect that does 300% ignoring defense damage. She allows you to supply an Undying Flame debuff onto the enemy that does, I guess, turn-based damage whenever the enemy is taking turns. So that's really unique to her. Salter and O'Grady's are really strong from a supporting perspective. Both of them bring strong shields to the table and really round out this burn team composition, being able to taunt and shield and protect your allies. As we see later on in some other tag or damage types, they're missing heroes that are able to really fulfill the support function. And here Salter, the 4th hero, and O'Grady's the 5th hero, perform great in those roles. Now, if you don't have a Salter and you want to do more damage, Malosh down below is a great addition to the team. And Popper, I thought, is another hero with burn tag that's worthy of a mention since he's absolutely pivotal in all the PvP content that we see. Next up, we have HP burn, and I thought nothing could be funnier than seeing an HP laptop on fire, because those laptops do catch on, do heat up quite a bit. So hopefully you get the joke about HP burn. But I should almost put Erotos on a class on her own, just because how impactful she has been to the meta in every way after she was introduced to the team. She not only can prevent the enemy from hitting you too much in a single hit, like she's probably more effective at preventing death from a boss like in the first few turns than any other mechanic in the game. So that is already really strong from a defensive perspective. On the offense, she is just a Gatling gun when she gets enough stacks up, and you can see her destroying all contents in the game unless they're like a hero or a boss that can heal off of you when you do dot type damage. And there's only one boss in the game like that. Pretty much everywhere else you will see her being used in all the content. She's literally irreplaceable, probably the most valuable hero in the entire game right now. Now, anniversary is just around the corner, so I don't know if that will make things any different, but I hope at least my video will be relevant until we get to anniversary, which is about two and a half weeks away. Next up, we have Adhesion, the 3rd hero on this list, and you see that She absolutely quickly demolishes the enemy by placing up to 5 layers of dots on them. A machine gun at just layering up on the dots, ton of damage from that perspective. I know a lot of people early on, loved their Hazanja, but Anhijin completely outclassed him in every single possible way. Next up, we have Momolo, Elemental City hero, and he brings in unique buffs to boost HP burn damage, and has very similar mechanic to Adeline, where the two of them, reduce their HP and do a ton of damage, and they work really well in this overall synergy. I think I forgot to mention Nerid, which is the one in the middle. She boosts damage in a similar way to Little Jack, I would say, and she works really well with all dot damage dealers. So the more layers of dots and debuff the enemy have, the damage scaled up that way. In PvP, early and mid game, she has some uses. She plays to some counters, and her suffocate and damage combo could wipe out a relatively medium to squishy team pretty well. So that is the list of HP burn heroes you have. Hoff and Liz get an honorable mention simply because in the HP burn category, there isn't enough good heroes yet, especially from a support perspective. So Liz is actually used to heal and provide shields, and Hoff has the ability of synergizing really well actually with Eratos from that perspective, because he's going to defense down, he's going to have tenacity down, he's going to enfeeble the enemy. That actually allow the direct damage component of Eratos damage to spike. So this is why these two heroes get an honorable mention here. Hoff actually has a role to play also as well, because his ability to give another hero a turn if they kill an enemy, the one he marked. So in sort of like a first turn burst composition, Hoff has a role to play as well in PvP. Hopefully this bleeding image in the background doesn't cause any trauma for anyone, as I know some people are afraid of blood, but I thought this is probably the most fitting image I can find that is, internet friendly for YouTube. And I know the last one is internal injury. I promise nothing more graphic than this will show up in this presentation. With the bleed hero, again, the hero that's been recently introduced, Moricus, just jumps to the top of the list. Not only is he viable in PvP, stealing the speed stat, which is most important in PvP, from your opponents, he boosts damage and is a boss killer on his own. What we see in the bleed family is there seems to be a bit of a split damage going on here. We got French and Lysander, which scales off defense, but then you have the remaining heroes, they're scaling off of attack. Grace, the fourth hero on this list, provide a lot of support and consolidation, and Valentina has a unique passive that boosts bleed damage as well, and that's why Valentina also makes a list when you start running a bleed only composition. Furthermore, she's able to freeze the enemies, giving you a little bit more versatility and utility in terms of your team composition in PvE content if you have to get through waves. Lysander was a really tough pick. I wasn't sure Lysander, if he should be, between Lysander and Valentina or Grace. Like, I had a real hard time figuring out which one to put into, the honorable mention bucket. And end of the day, I picked Lysander because all he does is damage dealing. Unlike all of the 5 hero above, they bring a lot of versatility to the table and utility tools. So, for example, Narch has shields, defense up. Lysander has, heavy bleed, has shields, has speed up, so, and also attack down as well. So from that perspective, the heroes above have way more tools in their toolkit than Lysander, who just purely does damage whenever their allies take turns. So while Lysander does a ton of damage, similar to Lucia, who is a great bleed damage dealer on her own, end of the day, I'm going to give them the honorable mention box. And on the last one, internal injury, I promise you, it is not something too graphic. This is my representation of internal injury. And internal injury heroes all come from the Saga City faction, and there just simply isn't enough of them from a support perspective. The mythic hero Zhongming was supposed to provide a good protection because this composition with internal injury tag really lacked shielders or healers or damage mitigation heroes in here. We don't have attack down either. We don't have critical. Actually, no. Zhongming brings attack down and defense down. Correction on that. So that helps, right? He's a little bit of all-rounder. I wish there was a little bit more shielding capability. From a damage dealing perspective, everyone's familiar with DMU and Indra and their destructive capabilities. I won't talk any further about those pair. The first two hero. Fashion is great. Fashion provides a revive, provides a deep injury debuff onto the enemy to boost the internal injury taken even further. I feel like Aiden's a great addition to this composition, even though we don't see enough of Aiden, just because how DMU and Indra outshines him. But in terms of, just taking up one hero slot instead of two, barring aside, DMU and Indra, DMU provides a lot of utility, and Indra also provides shields as well. So Aiden is, a direct damage dealer. But there are parts of the content where they have really try to nerf Indra. So for example, in the Purgatory of Sins, you can do no more than 5% of the damage at a time. So this is where Aiden starts to shine a little bit more. Aiden is designed to kill bosses as well, and he scales off attack. What I'm hoping is we see more support heroes with internal injury tag coming into this composition, and we'll be able to see it round out a little bit more. This is one of the very few heroes in the Sages of Liuli where we haven't seen people defeat stage 5 yet. Honorable mention goes out to Moshi and Judge Liu. Moshi is, a great starter hero that a lot of us have, and for a lot of content, she just completely dominates it as long as she can just, wave clear on her own. And she continues to be seeing, a lot of the mid early game content, and she will just make farming so much easier in those wave clearing situations. And Judge Liu, grading PvP, further boosting shield for Saga City heroes and giving them extra turns. Great hero overall from that perspective. I'm sure these heroes will be replaced as we see more heroes added with the internal injury tag. So I hope you enjoyed my presentation today. And for reference, always to make sure there's a lot of credibility in my work, going to the actual game, there's great ways to validate whether tier lists are valid or not. Is when it comes to PvE content, there's a lot of ranking, and the rankings actually list what are the top heroes. You can see here is for when it comes to the the HP burn tag, these are the heroes that you see used most often to clear the highest stages. This is around direct damage dealing, and that's why I say it's hardest for me to pick, because between Dez and Bethany, they do also make a great pair. They're going to synergize really well with the brand new hero Blaze that's going to be joining the game in a couple of days. Over here, Bleed, again, very tough pick. Sometimes we see Lysander, sometimes we don't. So for example, here we don't see Lysander, but Lysander is in some of the other teams. Here we can see, there's very few choices for internal injury, poison. When you have survivability issues, you definitely want to start bringing in Freud to help. And Ronite does come in very clutch as well to do some additional healing if required, or CC on the waves if you have to CC some of the ads. And finally, Burn, it's pretty consistent across the board. These top 5 heroes is what we see. Of course, you can also validate some of that information over here, because the latest content around of Sages of Liuli very much focuses on tag-based heroes. So if you look at the ranking today, you can look ranking across every single day. This was a Sunday, so we kind of have a mixing here. It's going to change every Sunday, but otherwise you can see, what are the top heroes across, and this is a great reference to see, if the heroes you're building are the most relevant in the game. Now, if you're starting out, what you also know is with all of these heroes, most of them don't have to scale off of effect, hit, and mastery at the same time if they're a dot damage dealer, and those heroes are from the first generation. I would say a lot of the newer heroes added in, they usually do a split damage, and they can do damage just scaling off a main attribute as well as mastery, allowing you to just get more out of your stats early on. So a lot of these heroes are really strong early game. The hero pool is filled with a lot of the older heroes, and they seem to be always introducing new heroes that power creep. So it doesn't matter at what point you join the game, you don't have to worry about, kind of, older players having a lot of these strong heroes, and you have to wait a long time before you get them. Often, if you actually, focus on miracle summons, which is a lot more expensive, but they always tend to bring you really strong heroes, and I'll always do a lot of these hero reviews. Now, finally, what I'll say is, you notice that my AppToy code is still up. We've been given a little bit more of an extension. So if you are still spending and, you're a big whale and, I think we're on the last day to hit that $2,000 spend. Not telling you to spend a lot, but jokes aside, right? All of you who have actually watched me a lot know that I would never encourage you to spend beyond your means. If you would like to support me, use my AppToy code, and it's very much appreciated and encourage me to continue to deliver great content to you. Let me know your thoughts and comments. Hope you enjoy the few I guess jokes here and there in it. It's not my usual way of doing presentation. I think at some point I started rambling on a little bit because I do prefer my content to be a little more casual and conversational. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and I'll catch you next time. Gandalf out.